Okay, so grab my pens. We got problem number 25. We need to remember side, angle, side, angle, side, angle, side, 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 angle, angle, side, which is also side, angle, angle, right? They're the same thing. And angle, side, side, which could also be side, side, angle, which we also like to call HL, hypotenuse leg. Remember, ass only works if it's right. And now we're going to start this two-column proof. And so we always start the two-column proof with a given. BD is perpendicular to AE, Y, okay, because it's given. Okay. Now, if they're perpendicular, okay, what can I come up with? Okay, well, I know one thing. If they're perpendicular, doesn't that mean that the angle EBD and the angle ABD, they're right angles? Okay? And the reason I'm going with that is, maybe we're going to talk about either HL or angle side side. To do that, I need to know that they're right. The one thing I also know, if they're right, if they're both right angles, they're also congruent. So I can say and congruent in the same statement, right? Because that's what? What is that? The definition of perpendicular angles, right? All perpendicular angles are both right and 90 degrees. And if they're both 90 degrees, then they're congruent. Does that make sense? That's the whole part of the definition of what being perpendicular is. Okay? So we covered a lot in that. One, we said that they're congruent. So we know they're equal. Okay? Two, we say they're right just in case we want to go down the road of angle side side. Okay? So next, we want to look at another given. So what's the other given? So AD is congruent to DE. Right? So AD is congruent to ED. 3. Given. Okay. Now, if we were going down the line of HL, we would have to prove that that's a hypotenuse, right? So we'd have to say, okay, because it's opposite of the right angle, it's the hypotenuse. And we could say that right here, and that means we're going to go with HL. Hypotenuse leg, right? The hypotenuse and the leg are congruent. If we don't want to do HL and we want to do angle side side, we already proved that it's right. So because it's right, we can prove that angle side side works. Does that make sense? So it's like, do you want to do an extra step and prove that it's a hypotenuse to do HL, or do you want to just do angle side side? It's up to you, right? And then if we're gonna do angle side side, we need another side, don't we? So right now we know that the hypotenuses are congruent. We know we have an angle, but we have to prove that either this side or this side is congruent. Can we prove one of those things? And how? So is BE congruent to AB? Or is BD congruent to DB? Which one of those can we prove? Yeah. Why can we prove that BD is congruent to DB? reflexive. Okay, that's huge. So now we know that this is congruent to itself, right? So now we have an angle, a side, and a side, right? That's also congruent to another angle, a side, and a side, right? And is it a right triangle? They are right triangles. So angle side side works because it's right. So our last step is what? It's ass. Right. So we get to write the proof. That's always your last step. The triangle ADB is congruent to triangle EDB. And step 5, because it's ass, is right. Okay? That's it. Right? Nothing like the right ass. Okay? Okay. So, and to me, kids really remember this way better because, well, it's taboo. We're not supposed to say that word. Ooh, right? All right. Now for the extra credit. What's the extra credit? Flow chart, right? How am I going to do the flow chart? So we start with number 1. And notice I did these all in different colors so we could go with the flow chart with the same different color scheme, okay? So I did 1, purple. So from 1, did we get 2? Okay. So from 1 we went to 2. Okay? From 2 did we get to 3? No. 3 was on its own, right? Okay? Because it was given also. So 3 is all by itself. And then from 4, did we get 4 from 2 or did we get 4 from 3? 4 from 3? Or was 4 on its own? Because we didn't, just because this was congruent doesn't mean this is, right? Yeah, 4 is on its own. So 4 is way out here. All by itself too. Now how did we prove 5 then? Because we had angle, the right angle, right, is congruent, right? The right angles are congruent. Angle, side, side. So we were able to use angle, side, side, right? So we used all 3 of these to prove 5. Does that make sense? Yeah. We had to use all 3 to prove 5. That's the flow chart right there. Bing. Nice? Always nice when it's right. Love her deeply. All right.